Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Duffy, and I will be doing this week's presentation for Unit 1 and the forum presentation, where we read several articles around the use of AI, and here's my analysis on it. So ultimately, these articles asked a singular question. And that question, in my interpretation, is how can AI be harnessed without losing the human element of creativity and trust? So the first article here, named Leading in a World Where AI Wields Power of Its Own, from the Harvard Business Review, goes over the idea of auto sapient systems. As per the author, there were four elements of auto sapient systems. Listed here, they are agentic, meaning that they are able to act independently. They are adaptive, meaning that they are able to pick up and learn and evolve on the inputs from a machine learning perspective. They are amiable, meaning that they can build trust and rapport with not only the user, but the creator, developer of these tools, and that they are arcane, meaning that they are kind of mysterious and ultimately unclear sometimes in their decision making, which ultimately leads some AI tools to be a bit of a black box for some of their developers. And ultimately, things can get a little bit away from the developers and the users as these models take in more information and become more agentic, adaptive, amiable, and ultimately leading to them being more arcane. So on this article, there's a recommended human response here. One point that's made here is the idea of duet and doubt. Another way to put this would be that I think is more commonly used is trust but verify. Ultimately, leaning on AI as a powerful tool that can be add a ton of efficiency to your everyday work, make it exponentially more efficient, and take away a lot of mundane tasks. But ultimately, it's important and incumbent on humans to remain curious about the output from these models. Now, I think it's very easy for a lot of people or a lot of AI tool users to develop an over reliance on some of these tools, and that's something that will continue to be brought up in some of these additional articles. But essentially, it's really making sure that, or I should say, the article is really bringing home the point that these AI tools can be quite mysterious and a bit scary, and ultimately lead to some caution by users and ultimately their developers. But as long as we keep our own humanity at the forefront, as the article says, doubling down on human traits like ethics and empathy and morality, and ultimately human perspective and experience, the tools can only go so far. And ultimately, we are still the ones responsible for using these tools ethically and empathetically. The next article was called Turn Generative AI from an Existential Threat into a Competitive Advantage. This article goes over the essentially a roadmap of how businesses can implement AI integration into their workflows and into their business strategies and everyday tasks to leverage the most out of AI tools and ultimately find what makes them more efficient and what works best for them. Specifically in that, pointing out that there is a need for there to be very focused and specific methods for each business, personalized to each business. The first level of this integration is using publicly available tools. This is a great point, and ultimately, I think for me, as I mentioned in my report for this week, I think was a big aspect of breaking down a mental barrier of using AI tools for myself. Ultimately, there are tons of people that use AI tools and develop AI tools and model or machine learning models that want to share them with the world. Oftentimes, you'll see software developers or anyone in a creative space wanting to share their what they have developed and what they've created with a larger group of people that are as equally energetic and excited about the same kinds of hobbies and work. So, as such, there's tons of publicly available tools. One particular website that I would recommend if you're interested is called Hugging Face. There are tons of publicly available machine learning models and algorithms available for people to use and implement into their own machine learning tools and AI assistants for their specific needs and use cases. Which leads into the second point of integration, which is developing customized AI solutions for your specific need as a business owner. I think this carries over also into the normal everyday life for anybody if you're going to be using AI tools, whether it is to create a shopping list to make things a little bit more easier when you go to the grocery store, or create a recurring list of items that need to be done around the house and who will be assigned to these tasks. There's a whole ton of ways to implement very customized, specific AI solutions for your need. But the point here, and that the article is trying to make, is that you need to be able to identify the specific use case that you want to leverage AI for, and develop a customized solution for that, as opposed to using an existing model that may serve someone else's use case or someone else's business case that may not be highly specific and customized to you. And the third, and what I think is the most important aspect of this article and this integration roadmap here, is creating self-reinforcing feedback loops. In more simpler terms, it's basically making sure that your model can continue to check itself, and that you are also, as a business owner or someone who's implementing these tools, that you are responsible for making sure that things are working on a regular basis, measurable action and items to make sure that things are continuing to work as you intend them to, or as you want them to. Without that level of feedback and capturing those kinds of metrics, there's really no way to measure how successful or unsuccessful implementing anything is in your business, let alone AI tools. So for me, the main takeaway of this article was making AI work for you to help you grow. And again, it goes back to the human element of things, and how important that is when it comes to using AI tools and implementing AI tools into your business flows. The last article here was called "Don't Let Generative AI Limit Your Team's Creativity." This article touched on the somewhat common problem in business and in society over the last few years with the emergence of AI tools like ChatGPT and Bard, that there is a over reliance on generative AI, or large language models, as a silver bullet for a lot of problems. Meaning that where there was at one point the need to do significant research or significant analysis on certain things in order to find a solution. Oftentimes, people are leveraging and leaning on generative AI as a crutch to come up with those answers either more efficiently in their view, more quickly, honestly, just at the end of the day from just a time box perspective, and ultimately with less work. For whatever reason, whether that is to be able to get to other more pressing business needs, or whether that's just because you don't want to put the work in. There's an over reliance, or a trend toward over reliance of generative AI and large language models. So ultimately, the point here is that is reminding users and business owners and anybody here that quality and quantity are not the same thing. Generative AI leverages a large set of data to answer or give you an output on your query, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct. So it's not always going to be a accurate assessment of what it is you're asking for. Additionally, as you continue to become overly reliant on these tools, because the quality of some of these query responses may not always be accurate, it reinforces a false sense of confidence for users and teams that leverage these tools. I heard once someone put it as that AI tools, or ChatGPT specifically, can be so blatantly, confidently wrong in some query answers based off of just that particular query at that particular moment. There's often no model that uses a sense of you know percentage assurance, or a concept of thinking like, well, I could potentially be wrong, which is a very distinct human element, and that humility and understanding and perspective is something that sets human beings aside, or apart rather, from generative AI tools that can at times, while they provide a ton of insight and can be exponentially make your job and your life exponentially more efficient, there's a chance that they're wrong. So ultimately, we need to be sure that we're not overly relying on these tools. So, as a proposed solution in this article, the use of generative AI as a creative partner and not as a replacement is a key focus here. You need to make sure that these tools are working for you. But again, leading back to previous articles, trust but verify. Make sure that you are finding the positive way to use these tools, but also not becoming overly reliant on the output that they give you. Understanding that the human element of the team should still drive decision making. When I say human element, which I'll touch on in a moment here, we're talking about the aspects of human beings that are distinctly different from that of a generative AI tool or a large language model. And ultimately, just being mindful of over reliance on AI tools, like I've touched on a few times here. So, going back to the question that was asked from the beginning of this presentation, and ultimately what all of these articles are trying to get at, how can AI be harnessed without losing the human element of creativity and trust? And in my opinion, the answer to that is by consciously keeping the human element at the forefront of your decision making here. Now, what do I mean by human element? To me, it is the outputs and inputs that contain awareness, empathy, morals, and or ethics, a combination of all of these, or individually. AI can be an extremely powerful tool in your daily life, in the business world, in a seemingly infinite amount of aspects and capabilities. But the reality is, those executing those searches, the people that are doing that, are still just that. They're people. And ultimately, these tools have to be used correctly, and ethically, and empathetically, to make sure that there's no long-term impact on either society or the business world or the economy, or however you want to apply this perspective to. Ultimately, human skills are still needed, and even further, they're necessary to make sure that there's not a emerging concern or issue long term with using generative AI tools, or AI tools in general. So thank you very much for your time and for your attention. I really appreciate it. I would love for your feedback. So thanks again, and everyone, best of luck for the rest of the semester.